Okay,
The
right.
J&J part actually made me laugh.
yeah, maybe like a 60
vaccine
seconds
turned out
of
to be really
funny of a decent inquiry into challenging power. Well, didn't go over so well. Let's go and put this up on the screen with his viewers and with a lot of people in the mainstream media. Daily Show host Trevor Noah blasted for knocking Moderna CEO's vaccine.
Yo, Macho, just gotta ask you. You
What's
seen
that?
this?
No, I never saw this.
Okay, this is gonna be interesting. I want to give the disclaimer. This is probably gonna surprise you, but we'll start the mind your business segment with this. But I'm really curious. So I was just curious to see if you've seen it. All right, let's keep jumping into this.
Vaccine push. The headline or the story reads, "No one's laughing" at the Daily Show. Trevor Noah's new take on the coronavirus vaccine maker Moderna appears to be suspicious, who recently went public over how his concern would hold up with Omicron. So what they point to is that a lot of people online who are viewers of the Daily Show and others were going after Trevor Noah and saying that he was, quote, joining the death cult because he was suspicious of Big Pharma and believing in vaccines and science.
One hand.
All right, the clip is here, guys.
Almost all the Omicron cases have been mild so far. But on the other hand, the guy who stands to gain millions of dollars from new vaccines says we need new vaccines. If we don't make a new vaccine, this disease could be with us forever. Sorry, I was thinking of something else. Now, look, I'm not saying that the CEO of Moderna is lying. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying I don't think he's the most objective source on this topic. I'll wait to hear what neutral experts say about a new vaccine. People like public health officials or the CEO of Johnson & Johnson. I mean, he's got nothing to gain because nobody's going to buy his vaccines either way. So I trust him.
Not bad, okay?
The J&J part actually made me laugh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a sip right here real quick, if you don't mind. I'm gonna take a sip of my cocktail.
You're a little surprised, right? I'm gonna take a sip to my white wine. Oh, you got a cocktail? I got white wine. I didn't even know you had a cocktail. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Macho came with a cocktail today. Wow, it looks nice.
That. See that, right?
Wow.
I don't know what to make of that because, again, one, I'm gonna vote mind your business because Trevor Noah is far left, right? Now all of a sudden you need an objective viewer, folks. This is as clear as day. You guys only want to listen to who agrees with you. It has nothing to do with objectable point of views.
So, all right, before I vote, let's roll the mind your business. I don't know, right here. I know you're skeptical of Trevor Noah. I am extremely skeptical, and I'm not really a big fan of Trevor Noah, but he's actually criticizing the people I would say you're supposed to be criticizing here when it comes to, or that you should have fair critique on. And these people are who? These Big Pharma. Now, Big Pharma is pushing another vaccine on the heels of Omicron when there's nothing but mild cases. So far, nothing but mild cases of Omicron. It could be something bad, who knows, right? But according to what they see, they're pushing right away. And I feel like him calling that, I won't give him credit in him changing his ideology, but I like this, even if it's rare and that much apart. Like, we'll probably never see something like this again, but I think it's good. I won't tell him to mind his business, actually, because I'm like, look, I like this, man. I don't care who it comes from sometimes, but even though I disagree with 90%.
Split decision here. We have a split decision
today. That's rare.
This is where I get frustrated because I get, not with you, but with Trevor Noah or the like. Because again, you say, oh, we want to wait for more an objectable point of view. But when you had people speak on these things, they were quick to get out in front and say that's misinformation. See, it all comes down to what they feel is the facts. What they feel is science. And they're going to go on that what's supportive. So
why do you think he's doing that now? So give me your last thought on that. Why do you think he's calling out, in a way, Big Pharma now? because I disagree with most of what he says, but I'm interested. Why do you think all of a sudden he's calling out Big Pharma?
I think it's the credibility issue. I think it's the credibility of who's proposing these informations, right? Moderna and Pfizer and J&J, you know, who's speaking out on this, the CEO, all that stuff. Or the other thing is does his audience want him to push back on this more? Right? They take that into account as well. The audience saying, hey, can you push back on this more because we have these kind of point of views. But now you want to say something. Rather having the posture of saying this from the very beginning, now you want to have this posture? No. We've been
That's
consistent
fair.
from the beginning.
I'm with you on that. That's fair. So, Macho, before, you know, this is the heat of our segment usually, nobody versus the experts, so we get to play some video, talk about some, right? I got a question for you. Do you think, right, we named this the pandemic, politics, and life after COVID. Do you think COVID is becoming politicized to the point that we need to be a bit concerned? Or do you believe it's just, it'll kind of like, we'll get over this? Or do you believe like the politicization is kind of a dangerous one that could rob some freedoms away?
Well, let's take it in parts. What exactly are we trying to get to with that question? Are you saying has COVID changed our politics? Has it manipulated it? Has it motivated it? Has it brought in new arguments now?
So let me put it like this in even a simpler way. Is COVID itself being used to control, manipulate, and it's been politicized to that extent right now? Or do you feel that's an overreaction when people say that?
No, I actually agree with that. I don't think it's an overreaction.
Okay. So I want to tell you that because our next clip is going to show not America, right? But another place where it's a big overreach right in front of our eyes. And that place is Australia. And for those of y'all who don't know what's going on in Australia, it's so many layers to cover. But their freedoms are being taken away one step at a time. And it didn't start with COVID. It actually started before, but they're using COVID again as the excuse. Which let's play some of this clip here.
Let's do it.
2019. Quarantine camps are a conspiracy theory. It will never happen. 2021. Quarantine camps are for your health. Just go there and shut up.
Good morning. We start with breaking news out of Darwin, where 3 people have escaped from the Howard Springs COVID quarantine facility.
Yes, that's right, Davina. Good morning to you. We've been told that the trio scaled the fence in the early hours of this morning. Police receiving reports around 4:40 a.m.
So this, I'm going to give you a warning, yeah? It's an official warning that you have to stand your block and obey the rules while you get, yeah?
And to fact checkers saying these quarantine facilities aren't quarantine camps.
This is my man right here. He won't flag us. He follows me on Twitter too, so don't worry about it. No.
There's not camps because there's hot girls there. Let's look up the definition of prisoner. A person deprived of liberty and kept under voluntary restraint, confinement, or custody, which would clearly be these people. A camp is a place with simple buildings erected for shelter for temporary residents, so it's a camp. Calling it a quarantine camp or a prison camp is totally fine. Just because you could play basketball in jail doesn't mean you're not being kept there against your will. You know you've lost the plot when Sarah Silverman is correcting you.
So this is an interesting take right here. So I'm gonna play it again really quick. But he's describing what's happening in Australia. This is all real. You can fact check it. You can disagree, but you can't disagree with what's happening. You can disagree with how you interpret that. Check this out. So now he goes into this tweet that I thought was very interesting. By the way, Aaron said something interesting. We constantly tell people in the public eye to shut up with things they know nothing about, and now we want him to speak up on something he knows nothing about but agrees with us. Good point, Aaron. I agree with that. For me, it's almost like I'm looking at it as, okay, this is a glimpse of hope, but maybe I'm looking at it too hopeful because there's probably no hope when we're talking about these, late night hosts. They'll probably be doing the same thing over and over. And when you think you see a glimpse of hope, it's probably not it. So I'm with you, Aaron. Good point.
With accuracy and morality. Here's Joy Reid posting some article out of context about Ron DeSantis saying, y'all know this is fascisty bananas, right? And even Sarah Silverman, that's correct, Sarah Silverman said, please read the article before you post this stuff. You're a news outlet. Thank you, Sarah. I doubt we agree on a lot politically, but the truth does have to matter, and it does show how terrible the mainstream media truly is. This is why people like podcasts and stuff.
Look. Is a prime example of the craziness through the media, where they're on the same side, but Sarah is calling it out like, look, this is a little out of control here, you know?
Oh,
Welcome
Gloria.
everybody who's joining.
Gloria is back.
Okay.
You remember
yeah.
Gloria from the early days?
Oh, early on. Okay.
When we first started. Yeah.
Let's see what Gloria got right here. COVID-19 PCR tests are meaningless. Though the whole world relies on RT-PCR to diagnose SARS-CoV-2 infection, the science is clear. They are not fit for purpose. Oh, wow. Very interesting. Wow. By the way, my job just told me that if they accept my exemption at work, I'll have to take at least 3 PCR tests a week.
At home.
Well, I got to go to a facility. They're gonna every other day I have to get tested. That's what they're saying.
You're working from home though. I don't get it. You're not around people.
But yeah.
What is the logic of this?
Bro, yeah, you gotta shut up,
alcohol
follow the rules.
right now? I mean, this
you gotta just follow the rules they're telling me. You know, so what do I say if they're telling me I need to follow the rules? How many FDA approved drugs were recalled in 2020? Ooh, she's coming. Yo, you coming with the heat, Gloria. Slow down.
I think we have too much alcohol in our system already. I don't know.
Yo, cheers to that. Let us know what you're drinking before we move to this next part.
Gloria has got the energy pack. She's drinking the energy pack, bro.
Oh yeah. She 100,000% came in hot. All right,
accepting the testing is accepting the mandate.
Ooh.
A Herrera. Coming with the
accepting the testing is accepting the mandate. Wow, y'all making me think. I'm in a dilemma in my job. I think it's a good opportunity to share since y'all both sharing about the FDA. The dilemma in my job right now. I was given to January 14 to get the vaccine. Those of y'all who know me anywhere capacity, you know where I stand with that. There's there's a 1,000,000,000% chance that I will not take it. I am not taking that vaccine. So with that said, they gave me a whole thing to fill out. And in that thing I'm filling out, it says if I'm doing a religious exemption gets accepted, I need to get tested 3 times a week PCR. But in a way, I agree. Why? Because these tests, what are they trying to do? They're trying to have me take these tests in order for me to move towards, you know what? I'll just take the vaccine. You know, that's the whole goal right there. They get you so tired of living that way. They warn you out to the point where you tell yourself, you know what? What's the hurt in taking the vaccine? That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, you're being stubborn. Just get the vaccine. That's what they're telling you. Just get the vaccine. That's what they're saying. You know what I'm saying? But you refuse.
I already have 60% of company ready to walk out the moment they threaten. Ooh, you start a whole movement. That's powerful. That's powerful. That is really powerful. And again, look at what's happening here. As we go into our we're kind of there, but let's play this transition. Nobody versus the experts here.
What do we got here? What do
we have here? Let's break this down. This is a quick clip. This is going to be really quick, but I'm interested. They're blaming everything on COVID. They're going to continue to use COVID, right, as a scapegoat to everything else, which means COVID would be the convenient excuse. Like I asked you the question about Australia. I believe personally, America, the way it's going now, not in every state, but they're trying to move that direction. Where they're slowly taking away your rights. Doesn't seem like a big deal. Remember, they took guns away in Australia 10 years ago. Right? So then it took them a decade. Do you think that's a long time? I say to myself, not really. A decade will go before we know it. We're a decade in. And what happens, right, when we're in that phase? They slowly continue to take rights away. Check this question they asked her about. They asked her about crime, and she blames the rise in crime on COVID. All right. So this just goes to show that everything is going to be revolved around COVID.
Instrumental effect in helping keep communities safe.
And does the president still think that crime is up because of the pandemic?
I think many people have conveyed that, and also one of the reasons that crime, one of the root reasons crime, root causes of crime in communities is guns and gun violence. And
Wait.
Statistically around the country.
We solved it. Saki just solved it. One of the root problems or the root of crimes is gun problems. Yo, let's just pack up the show. Let's go.
Wow. And I mentioned gun on Australia.
Is that? How arrogant?
Check this out. I mentioned gun on Australia, and they do it always in the heels of a disaster. I mentioned guns in Australia. Now she's saying COVID is having this craziness, but on top of that, we have a gun problem. So she's using COVID likely to pass more legislation on more gun laws that don't work, that ultimately, in my opinion, the agenda is to take the gun away or take rights away. All right. So ultimately, you see, it's a thing that's building, which sounded conspiratorial before, but we're seeing it before our eyes. Like Anomaly said in that, he's like, 2019, we're gonna have camps. Everybody looked at that as conspiracy. We have camps. Maybe not in America yet, but in many places around the world, a lot of political powers are using this.
It is definitely reshaping our politics, where one of the debate questions is, how are you going to combat this virus? I mean, this is ridiculous. We're doing the right things. We had an initiative. We had things that carried over to the next administration here in America, where Joe Biden over there said, if we just wear our mask, we can save so many people's lives, and possibly got elected on that ideology. Okay. And not only that, we have the 100 Days Mask Initiative after that. Then now we have the Open Borders Initiative after that. All in the guise of what you've been saying, all under the disguise of COVID measures or COVID pandemic. How about the court system, Savory? How about the court system, where they can't even hold people in cells because of the mandate, social distancing, and so on and so forth? Or they can't have hearings in time, or in-person hearings because of COVID. I mean, the list goes on and on. Pandemic has definitely been affecting our politics.
Did you hear they were letting people go free from jail because of this situation? Early sentences and stuff like that for their health, letting criminals out in the street. Is there any ounce of honesty of what's been happening with COVID, right? Did you ever believe 15 days to slow the spread?
No.
Right? Did you ever believe we'll just be locked down for a certain amount of time? So I think to myself, was this an intentional lie? Or was this what they really thought? And the science changed is how they justify it. Did the science really change? Right? You can argue yes, but did they think it wasn't going to change? Did they? I have a lot of questions since the beginning.
This is a great point.
Has been moving.
This is a great point, and I think Gloria and I are kindred spirits, because I posted about this on my Facebook months ago, but I'm gonna read it because it's relevant. 400,000 ganja smoking hippies, effing, puking, expectorating. I think it is expectorating. Maybe I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Defecting and defecating and urinating in a muddy pasture for 3 days, plus the raging Hong Kong flu, and no mass equal Woodstock Free Concert 1969. I posted exactly about the massive concerns that people had about the Hong Kong flu, and not a single mandate was passed in 1969, and more people died of that flu, Savory, than they did of this coronavirus. And this is what I'm trying to say. This don't make any damn sense.
There's reason to be concerned. Whether you're vaccinated or not, you need to be concerned, because the overreach, a lot of people saw it coming. Many didn't see it coming, but the overreach is getting out of control. They're going to continue to use this as a new play in politics, because you blame COVID, then you justify the right that needs to be taken away. Because there's more power.
Why this one all of a sudden? Out of all the ones, we had swine flu, we had malaria scares, we had mad cow disease. Why this one out of all of them?
Good question. I think it was attempted before. They just found better strategic ways to do it. So I don't think it's the first time they're attempting. I think they failed before. So they've learned, right? When you started business, right? When we started this podcast, when we start anything, what do? We learn over time, right? So if we were to do this again next year, we just get better. We get better, right? And this sounds conspiratorial to people, but think about it. They're just gotten better. They kind of playing their cards slowly. Now, this was all reset, right? You have some people who have big conspiracy that this has been planning for 20, 30 years. I don't have evidence of that, but I also don't think it was, we know it was created in a lab, right? That's not conspiracy no more. This is just facts. We know it came from a lab.
Facts.
Right? So if there's no debate in that, and we know it wasn't just a natural cause, it's not far-fetched to think that if it came from a lab, were they planning and controlling the spread of this early on until it got out of control, of course. But then they used that for government overreach. And that's a scary, scary thought.
Yeah, and why do we not wear masks for other things as like tuberculosis, as Gloria just mentioned? Why are we picking and choosing? This is where I still have my skepticism on people like Trevor Noah. It still goes back to that,
fair.
Where you now all of a sudden deem who has the right scientific methods or the right scientific answers or the right scientific I would say, what is it, efforts or ways to combat the virus. Who is deemed the god in society to decipher how we're going to handle this? But then we're picking and choosing something as simple as tuberculosis, as you can see by the stats here.
Who says that 1.8 billion people are infected with tuberculosis there, TV?
Tuberculosis.
And
the alcohol is hitting.
An airborne transmissible respiratory disease, 10 million ill, 1.5 million. I appreciate you, Gloria, coming with the heat today. Died in 2019, yet we don't wear masks. University of New South Wales. She's on it right now. You got to come as a guest when we do another part. Respiratory infection is much higher among healthcare workers wearing cloth masks compared to medical masks. Cloth masks should not be used. The funny thing is, look, the flip-flop on that. We should use a mask. We shouldn't use a mask. We should double mask. Only outdoors. No, actually indoors as well. 15 days. Sorry, 15 days turned to 6 months. That's only lockdown for a week. That 1 week turned to months. We're not gonna infringe on businesses, but no, we need to shut them down for a bit. The goalpost is a scary thing, guys. America, we have a great system, right? We have freedom-loving people, but if people don't start standing up, regardless of your vaccination status, you will look back in 10 years and realize that COVID was the ultimate tool used to control you, your family, and the future generation.
And that's unfortunate. I'm sorry. It really is.
Very
to literally alleviate the root problems on crime is COVID related, and then follow that up by gun control problems.
Doesn't really make sense.
Did COVID take common sense away from people, Savory? I'm just curious.
It's so crazy. It is in a way. And what do I call? You remember in our last podcast, I called this. I said I believe personally, this is a litmus test on compliance. Right? Yeah. That's my theory. The more I look into this seems like a litmus test on compliance. And what that means is they're checking, right? Before you take over, right? A country, before you take over through laws, before you manipulate the population, you need to see how the resistance looks like, right? We will never invade a country without knowing the resistance that we will be met with in that country, right? You have to do your intelligence. They're doing an internal resistance of how many people. This is why they want us in my job to upload COVID vaccination cards. They want to see which people are not. You think the government's not looking at all that? Or am I supposed to be a fool and just think this is a private thing? No, this was given by the government.
This has no private interest. Yeah, this is not making the private sector money. So for them to want to know our vaccination status is not making them money. It's keeping them open or keeping them operational so that they are not subjected to fines, right?
They have to, yeah.
That's what I think it is all about.
That's actually fair. That's actually fair, yeah. Some businesses are not going with it. Most are still, even after the official, the Fifth Circuit, I think, and the Sixth Circuit Court put a suspension on it and hold. But why are these companies still doing it?
Several times.
Well, why they're doing it? It's not constitutional, and they're doing it because they're kind of playing off the card of like, you know what? Let's just keep it in mind. The federal government did it. Let's try to be compliant. And this is how it always starts. They get enough people to be compliant. Warning label on box of surgical mask. This product, an ear loop mask. This product is not a respirator and will not provide protection against COVID-19 and other viruses. I got it.
It's even infused now in our warning labels, is what she's insinuating. Is what she's saying. Russia has already been testing us. Russia has already been testing us for decades, according to Brandon. Brandon, welcome. How are you?
Yeah. Welcome. Oh, Brandon on the lives. I see you.
He's been watching us.
I appreciate you.
Man.
I love it. Brandon's a good example, man. I'm gonna shout him out like you did, Macho, in your live, because it's a good example of we might not be in agreeing with certain stuff, but you're actually willing to sit, listen, and kind of like I'm assuming here, Brandon, but sit on some of the thoughts we have, right? Regardless where it might lead you. All right. Yeah. So I think that's pretty dope, right?
He listens to our premise and where we're coming from, rather than
have some fair criticism at times.
Yeah,
which is normal. Yeah. So I want it off the heels of this, right? It's two comments I wanted to go back to. Aaron said they're playing the sleight of hand. They say COVID, but the reality is government overreach. And then Gloria, the comment you read, reminded me of this next clip we're gonna play. Why? Because in this next clip, we have I would say, government overreach. And why? I want you to tell me why the heck they're doing something like this. Let's get that transition and let's see.
Of November, we'll talk about how long it lasts in your forecast.
Fine dining and even finer views. New York Live takes us to the sky-high new restaurant and cocktail bar, serving up an experience unlike any other right now.
It's coming, guys. Here we go.
Hey, this is News for Now for November 30th. I'm Kay Ingram. Now, it's a first for the country and here in the city. The goal is reducing overdose deaths, and to do that, 2 supervised injection sites are now open. One is in East Harlem, the other in Washington Heights. These are safe places where users...
That's in my hood. Why they start in the hood?
Because it's a problem there.
Do they want to help? Are they helping? This is the problem. All right, you're right. It's a problem. They're cool. Logical, you start there. But are you really going to help? What are you doing? No. You're giving these people a haven to do this. There's no yeah, all right. Let me keep playing this.
I forgot. Hold on, Saber. I forgot where, but I think it was in Portugal or some country that's practicing this very measure, and this is the reason why they're pushing this supervised injection sites, because they believe this will bring to light some healthy tactics or healthy practices when it comes to, I guess, injecting yourself with drugs, even though despite the fact that it's already blatantly illegal to do in this country. So I don't know. I'm on the fence.
Well, my wife showed me a study in Canada. Well, not a study, an article that mentioned Canada, right? So Canada did it. And what I imagine these government institutions doing is telling you this. They're going to tell you that overdose dropped. And in reality, you might have been right. But what does that have to do with solving the problem? Yes, overdose drop, but then you have more people dependent on this and having a safe haven where you're encouraging this drug use. So it gets me. You see how you can manipulate that? Because you can actually manipulate and say, why? Because you're going to have people to take care of you there. If you're about to overdose, they'll inject you with something. They'll take, it'll be nurses nearby. But is it really helping the root cause? You see what government does? They ignore the root cause.
Apparently, it's bringing down addiction. Apparently, and again, this is in its beginning. It's been lowering certain crimes in certain countries because of it. But when you legalize this, of course it will. You know what I'm saying? So the legalization is through these injection sites. The illegal part about it is doing it outside of this. So when you hear that, oh, I'm just going to go to the injection site. It's clean. They give me a nice place to be at, and I get to be high right in the facility. You get what I'm saying?
But I would love to know how in the world you're actually decreasing usage.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, it's a
Because I
great
feel like it would
question. Yeah.
encourage. I feel like it would encourage. I understand how I can decrease overdose, but decrease usage. Actually, check this out. Let me see if this is relevant. I'll read it here and then I'll play that. Wife just sent me this. Canada has long contended with harms arising from injection drug use. In response to epidemics of the HIV infection and overdose in Vancouver in the mid-1990s, a range of actors advocated for the creation of a supervised injection facility. All right, so some history behind how this started. And after several unsanctioned, operated briefly and closed, Canada's first sanctioned SIF, which that's the injection facility, yeah, opened in 2003. However, while a large body of evidence highlights the success in reducing the health and social harms associated with injection, extraordinary efforts were needed to preserve it and continue activism by local people who inject drugs.
Yeah.
So I guess this is what we're discussing. While much progress has been made in that regard, there is pressing need to create a more enabling environment through an amendment of federal legislation. Again, yeah, look, this just reminds me of the government having some kind of success in one area, right? Because that's like saying I have a safe haven for all drug users, so there's no drug users on the street. I'm like, duh. You know what I'm saying? But what's the real effect? Is it really helping the community? I don't know. They're making arguments that it is, and they're making arguments that it's not. So,
yeah. I don't know if they're doing this to try to see what they get out of this, but I see here too the Harvard Health Publishing, Harvard Medical School. Is that the article you were reading from by Scott Weiner, the MD?
No, I was reading Harm Education Journal at biometalcentral.com.
Yeah, so I think they're all studying this because it said like people who use heroin are now at significant risk for overdose death, which is similar to what you're saying, mainly because the opioid content can vary considerably from dose to dose. So they're thinking about, okay, what if we give these people the healthy dose of it? And then we also have the facility so that they're safe. So now we can combat death measures or maybe remove some addictive qualities of this. Isn't this like almost a methadone movement too that we've seen here in the city as well, where they'll replace what they're addicted to methadone drug so that they still feel the high and they're weaning them out of it? How successful has that been?
Yeah, that's a good question, but that to me sounds more viable. Right? You actually have a strategy to get them off. Here is there's no strategy to get you off. We're going to give you a safe haven on the hopes that you, or not the hopes, but so you don't overdose, right? So it's just interesting to me, you know? I wonder how the government find money to fund these sites, but can't find the money to keep teaching music and art in public schools. Yeah, so
that's
shots
Trish.
Fired. But
that's Trish. That's Trish. That's the homie right there.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Again, like I'm really big, and I think we should all be big, right? My biggest criticism, and I'll play the last few seconds of this, is there's no accountability for government spending, which means the results of this are going to be connected to what they tell you, not the true data, right? Because it's not like a private business that has to report the data accurate. They're going to report the data how they see fit in order to justify taxpayer dollar.
What you're saying is they're not going to tell you that they flopped. We made a mistake.
Exactly.
Right? They're not going to do that.
So let's hear a little more about what they're doing here.
Substances, and workers will provide them clean needles. Addiction and overdose treatment, if needed, is also available. Other cities like Philadelphia have tried to open similar sites, but haven't yet due to public backlash. The sites are run by nonprofits that oversee the needle exchange programs. The city and the country have seen a dramatic increase in overdose deaths during the pandemic. City officials say this is a new tactic to fight back.
By the way, why did overdose, right, in America skyrocket after the pandemic? What's the root cause of that? I would harbor to say that the root cause of that is keeping people at home, right? Depression goes up, shutting down restaurants, shutting down the economy. All these things play a role. So
what about
now,
open border?
Open borders, all these things
open border.
play a role.
I mean, this is ridiculous.
So again,
you have one of the largest, one of the two, I think it's 2 or 3, the biggest drug cartels are in South America. And we're just going to have an open border? Like, it's okay. Hey, guys, just bring in your fentanyl, bring in your cocaine. Have no problem. We're okay here.
And again, this is my criticism. What happened here? What do I say? What does the government do? They create a problem and then they come with you with the wonderful solution. You created this problem.
Got it.
You see what I'm saying? You created a problem, but then your solution is a government-ran program taken away from taxpayer dollars in order to justify what you created. You shut down the economy. You shut down small businesses. You opened the border up. You locked down the economy. You said 15 days to slow the spread. And now you know what you do here? You tell yourself, oh, you know, guys, we have a big problem with overdoses. It's because of COVID. It's a natural COVID. Come on, man.
What you put in that
But you feel me though, right? This is crazy. This is crazy. This is why I'm so skeptical. You cause problems to fix them. Let me play another 10 seconds.
Now, a worker is in deep trouble.
All right. Anyway, so we'll just talk about the workers who.
Okay.
But the point, the point is, the point is the example of government coming in, intervening, and they're intervening because the problem they feel they could solve. But look, they'll never solve the problem. This is why they're so excited, because they just have a problem that will never be solved, and they continue to pump money through that organization for the next decade in order to justify the helping of communities. This is not helping no one in the hood.
Until that becomes a political talking point.
Exactly. There we go. And then it gets so bad, vote for me, and I'm gonna change these facilities. I'm gonna make these facilities better. Come on, wow. We gotta stop with these games.
Brilliant.
It's genius. It's actually genius by them. Very much. You know what you think, Macho? What you think when you hear "follow the science"? Just tell me really quick what comes to your mind.
What comes to mind is follow my science.
Okay.
Because
what you mean by that?
You've had, for example, under the just in 2021, before we had the vaccination, we had a physician in Ohio who was a virologist who was studying the effects of ivermectin, which is like some kind of steroid drug that helps you deal with the effects of COVID. My man had to go to a hearing, a congressional hearing, to tell them, listen, this drug is really important. Why are we demonizing it? Why are we pushing this? Why are we ignoring its effects? It's working. It's helping people get over the virus. But Congress was saying, nothing to see here. It's okay. We'll go the other way. We'll go the vaccination way. So that's when I start to say, whose science are we following? Follow the science they want you to follow. It has nothing to do with science. Science is conflicting, right?
It has everything to do with what science could justify for their agenda.
On their end.
Right? Because there is some science they use, but they would only use what's convenient in order for them to push whatever that might be. You decide what that is. If you think they're pushing the vaccine or whatever.
Science changes, right? It's an hypothesis. So you have to question it over and over again. And sometimes as the virus, quote unquote, mutates, then you're going to be looking at different sides of that too. How are we going to be dealing with these issues? They didn't allow all the doctors to get the forefront in the mainstream media. They only got one doctor. And now we have to follow him because he now says he is science. We all know he said that.
He said he is the science. That's crazy.
What a brilliant guy.
Check this background, right? As we have this background, before I even press play, I purposely put it here. Check this out. Science doesn't belong to any ideology. Science is a never-ending search for new knowledge.
That's right.
Why did I pause it here? Because I do believe science has become an ideology. Think how many people take this kind of moral high ground and this position that says, I follow the science. You're lost. I'm not. I follow the science and you should too. You see what I'm saying? This is where it becomes political. Like, what? You're a scientist now? COVID-19 came out and you're like, what are you talking about? I'm not claiming that I know the full science, but let's play some of
over swine flu. Just before you get here, over swine flu, did we ever hear of Dr. Fauci? No,
remember, man.
No, there's no way I ever heard of the man. So where did he come from?
He was there though.
I know
he's been there for decades.
Like, where the hell? I mean, whatever.
He was getting ready for COVID. He got a talking about something's gonna come soon. Hey man, But anyways, all right, let's see.
Science is the never-ending search for new knowledge. That's what science means in Latin, by the way. Knowledge. Not wisdom, not morality, not social policy. Knowledge. What we do with that knowledge is where wisdom, morality, and social policy enter the picture. Knowledge, it turns out, isn't so easy to come by. And sometimes what we think we know for certain, the Earth sure does look flat when we're standing on it, turns out not to be so certain. Of course I trust in basic scientific truths, those things for which there is overwhelming evidence, like, say, gravity, even that humans play a role in the warming of the planet. But scientists, even the best ones, can get things wrong. The brilliant astrophysicist Sir Fred Hoyle.
But it's interesting because they use both of these train of thoughts. That they say the science is settled when it's convenient, and they say science always changes when it's convenient. So that's what makes me laugh the most. Science is settled because COVID-19 is dangerous, and it's settled, and it spreads like wildfire. Right. But when convenient, they go into another train of thought to justify other things like a lockdown or whatever it might be. So
Hoyle believed the universe existed in a steady state forever and had no beginning. But his view, once held sacrosanct
forward
by all,
right here.
If it's wrong, it won't necessarily be a bunch of scientists who say it's wrong. It might be one guy. Ask Einstein. 100 scientists wrote a book explaining why his theory of relativity was wrong. He quipped, "If I were wrong, then one would have been enough." It takes a lot to convince scientists to accept a new theory.
That's classic.
Especially if that new theory refutes what they had always believed. In some cases, what they'd staked their entire careers on.
That sounds familiar? You're staking your entire career on this COVID-19 pandemic. It's it becomes your identity, especially if you went out and got the COVID after the boosters for things to go back to normal. Think about it. If you think things are going back to normal, it hits a part of your identity because you try to be a good citizen, which I understand. But it's not back to normal.
The fact that you said he got the COVID.
Yeah. You got the COVID.
As Richard Feynman, one of the most eminent physicists of the 20th century, famously said, "Science is the belief in the ignorance of experts."
Woo!
That's right.
I love that. Yo, for our segment, one time for the one time, I want to do this. I think that's relevant. I wanted to show science is the belief in the ignorance of experts. For us, this show right here is the belief that even a nobody, even you, even us, are able to challenge the experts. So this is why I love that quote. I wanted to pause it there. Science is the belief in the ignorance of experts. Why? Because even experts are wrong. All right?
Oh.
Science all the time, bro. This is a normal thing. Let's not be surprised. Not that they're dumb. It's not that they don't know what they're talking about. It's that because it's a complex world. And to figure it out, we need a lot of minds. And sometimes that one mind in the background, in the background is the one that gives reality to this reasoning of common sense, So
are you wrong sometimes?
Oh man, more than sometimes.
Yeah, me too.
I've been wrong plenty of times. But again, the more I see people who believe they can't be wrong, you're not convincing me to your train of thought because you have arrived where I'm still growing. You see how discouraging that could be to some people?
Right.
So these politicians and Dr. Fauci tell you he has arrived. Follow him.
God Fauci.
Bro, come on, man.
God Fauci, they call him.
We'll play these last. There's a bit more. I'll fast forward here so we can see this. I thought this was really informative as well. Check this out right here.
It can be falsified. In other words, if your theory can't be tested, if it can't be proven wrong, it's probably not good science. This is just one reason why we have to be very careful about putting too much faith in models. They often can't be tested. Models are predictions of the future based on current data. They can easily get...
You see that?
Sounds like Cuomoism.
It's how politicians offer. They give them a set of data, they predict the future, and justify these laws they pass. That's why I wanted to end with that. They can easily get manipulated. That was that next sentence right there. And we have to be...
Which is a recurring theme of our TikToks, right? When people are like, where are your stats? Where are your sources? Where are this? And Savory rightfully answered with saying, you can look it up just like I did. You just have to go deeper. You can't go through the first Google searches. You have to go deeper. You have to ask different questions. Maybe ask the adverse question, right? Oh, is slavery exist in America? And then also type in, how does slavery doesn't exist in America? You
Yeah,
see the difference there in the questioning, right? So people don't understand this and how they search for these, I guess, the truths, the hidden truths in society.
No, how you look it up plays a big role as well, because again, most of us, I've been there, you've probably been there, we all been there. We're trying to confirm our biases. Even though our biases might be right, you're still trying to confirm that. So it's not about right or wrong here. You might be 100% right, but even if you're right and the other idea is wrong, looking up that wrong idea actually sharpens what you believe. But they don't want you to do that, especially when it comes to follow the science. So yeah, we definitely need to question those things. You know, I got one more thing here. Doctor from Yale. His name is not Dr. Yale. He's a doctor from Yale, epidemiologist, right? I want to quote him on this pandemic, right? And this will summarize a lot of what I've been thinking about and how we've been moving in this pandemic, right?
Dr. Yale.
Where are we here? Overall, he said, I'd say, and I quote, I'd say that we had a pandemic of fear. And fear has affected almost everybody, whereas the infection has affected relatively few. You know why I like that quote? It's not that the virus is not dangerous. It's not that it doesn't exist. It's giving you a reality like, look, let's take into account the psychological effect that fear has. Do I think these people know this? These people in power, these people are pushing these agendas? Yes. However far you want to go with that, right? I'm not going to go to, if you want to go to conspiracy or if you want to go to common sense, there's easy ways to justify this. And it's dangerous because, again, and I'll read it one more time here. I'd say we had a pandemic of fear. And fear has affected almost everybody, whereas the infection has affected relatively few. By and large, it's been very selective, pandemic, and predictable. It was very distinguished between young versus old, healthy versus chronic. So we quickly learned who was at risk, but we chose to ignore that.
That's right.
You see, so again, I want to encourage people like we do week after week. It's not that we're giving you the perfect answer. Is that we're trying to bring you a reality to these topics that sometimes is more than meets the eye. It's just way more than meets the eye. Look at this. Would you agree with that quote, Macho?
I absolutely agree.
And it's not saying you're not saying the pandemic doesn't exist. You're not saying that COVID doesn't exist.
Right. And the audience doesn't have to listen to us. Look at the domestic violence issues, right? Look at what was going on with depression issues. They had to create all these hotlines. If you need to talk to someone, we had a high number of attempted suicides in 2020, a high number of actual suicides in 2020.
Oh yeah, it leaped.
We had a high
drug overdose went up 30% in New York City. Just a fun fact right there. Crazy.
What about domestic violence calls?
Domestic violence calls went up as well.
So there's no doubt that fear played into this. There's no doubt that fear decided how our politicians now operate or function or now have these discussions surrounding crime, surrounding our justice system. This is a complete misdirect, right? They were all in agreement that BLM was a saving grace to rewriting America. But I think that if politicians are realizing this might be too far. This might be too far. So let's do a misdirect here. Let's get something going. Now, this is speculation. I'm not saying that that's what they did. I'm just saying it's so convenient that now the conversation about crime is rooted on the pandemic. Before, just a year ago, you said it was about race.
I'm telling you, man, it's whatever. If the shoe fits, it fits in politics. They're going to use it. You know, it's just crazy, man. But Macho, you want to transition us to that sip on facts? I know you got something for us. So I think, I hope people enjoy this because I know we got through a
I pulled the trigger a little too early. Go ahead.
Nah, you're good. No, I was just saying I hope people enjoyed it because this trail, we kind of gave perspective of what different politicians are saying, how they're using, right, through the injection sites. White House press secretary, right? It's saying now that it's a justification, what I hear, to take away guns. And then, it's almost like, and then again, like we said, 15 days to tell the spread lockdown. This will never end. In my opinion, this will never end. But yeah, talk to us, Macho.
And with that never ending idea, what about mail-in ballots? Is that the future? So for today's Sip on Facts, I got this. The Guardian, which is, in my opinion, left-leaning, wrote an article just shortly after or during the 2020 election on Wednesday night. And they were tracking the 9 swing states: Georgia, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Ohio, Wisconsin, Florida, Michigan, Iowa, and Minnesota. And they were tracking how many people were requesting mail-in ballots and how many people were getting their mail-in ballots accepted. So they did a nice little pinned up thing here. And the one in particular that stood out to me out of all the states that they mentioned was Wisconsin. Wisconsin has 10 electoral college votes. 10. That's a pretty good number, by the way. All right. They had officially 3.58 registered voters. Savory, how many people do you think requested those mail-in ballots?
I think my initial guess when you asked me was about 1 point something, but you told me it was what?
1.42 million people. So that's nearly half or over half the population requested mail-in ballots. Okay. And 1.28 million was accepted.
Okay. So what percentage of that? That's definitely over 80% got accepted.
Absolutely. Over 80%, almost 90% got accepted.
Would you say these were some young, vibrant voters who can just walk to the poll and actually vote in person, or mostly elderly?
Absolutely. Fear played a role into this. I don't want to be around people. I don't want to be on the line. I'd rather just do it now so I don't have to worry about it later. I get to do it from my home. Is this the future of voting? Right? This is life after the pandemic, folks. This is what we're talking about. Pennsylvania, 20 electoral college votes. 20 out of 8.9 million registered voters, 3.1 million requested ballots, 2.62 million was accepted out of the 8.9 million voters. That's a third of their population. That's a third of the voters. Florida, 29 electoral college votes. These are major states, folks. Major states. 6.1 million requested mail-in ballots out of 14 million registered voters. That's a significant amount of people.
Wow.
4.74 million.
Sheesh.
4.74 million was accepted out of the 6 million requested. So under half of the population. In North Carolina, 15, another high electoral college here in this state. North Carolina, 7.24 million registered voters, 1.46 million requested mail-in ballots, 977,000 was accepted.
Wow.
Interesting. That's interesting.
You know what's interesting about this too is I'm curious, which we won't get into this now, but I can imagine that the last presidential election, I would like to see how those numbers vary from people who requested it in 2016 in comparison to the request in 2020. Because I know that number is going to be drastic, which will show us a lot as far as fear, mail-in ballots, COVID, and what you're talking about. Wow.
In the state of Michigan, 16 electoral college votes, 8.3 million registered voters, 3.32 million requested mail-in ballots, 2.84 million was accepted out of the 8 million. Another third of the population. Ohio, another high, 18 electoral college votes, 8 million registered voters, 3.21 million mail-in ballots requested, 3 million accepted. That's over a third of the population. Iowa has 2.21 million registered voters, 1 million requested mail-in ballots. 1 million.
Yeah,
that's half. That's half their population.
So
and 900,000 was accepted. 997,000.
So a lot of these states you're running down, right? Because I'm seeing where you're going. It's pretty crazy. It's a third to almost half. A lot of these states, from well, it's crazy. So
and
to
check
my
out
question,
Minnesota.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hold that question. Another high amount. These are all swing states. Minnesota, 3.53 registered voters. 2.6 million requested a mail-in ballot. That's over half. That's over half, Savory. 1.72 million was accepted out of the 3.54 million people who voted.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow. So to close out, I got that last question for us there. You can close us out after that. I'm curious to what you think about that. Is mail-in ballots here to stay?
By the looks of the statistics, any politician would be out of their bird to not want to keep that. The only side that's not going to want to keep that is the Republicans. Democrats are going to fight tooth and nail to keep mail-in ballots, and tooth and nail. And it may work. It may work in their favor. It may work against them. We never know.
I agree with you. Wow.
So let's transition ourselves out. That's right. You just watched us on YouTube right now. If you haven't already, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Click that notification bell. So when we go live, you know it, right? Also, we have a Twitch account. Sorry, I'm clicking over you. We also have a Twitch account at MachoFix88 and at Savory_edition. We also have a Twitter with our same handles there as well. We have an Instagram that we're building. We have a Discord that we're still learning to get up and running, but it's also Drinks with the Nobody, so we can continue the conversation even off screen. And of course, YouTube, like I just previously mentioned, hit that subscribe button, share our page, share it with whoever you think is willing to have a conversation, who wants to talk with us. Okay, click that notification bell, because we like to go live sometimes at whatever times, but mainly at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But when we go live and when we drop something in here, you'll get a notification. So this show may be over, guys, but at Drinks with a Nobody, there are no last calls. So keep the conversation going.